Welcome back to Wizard Jail, the Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light rewatch podcast where we are going through the 1980s cartoon show Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. Who is we? It's me, Patrick Ripoll.
And it's me, Gabe Powers.
We're back for the last time to talk about this cartoon. We're closing the book on Flint Dill and his silly little it's like a bookshelf fell over and all got smashed together, and then when you it turned into like one mushy book. Like if you leave a package of gummy bears in the hot car, they'll all melt into one giant gummy bear. That is what the planet of Prismos is like. It's every genre just kind of melted into one. But this is the end of it.
That's the new official term for soft sci-fi is mushy book.
Mushy book. Yeah. This is classic mushy book with friends turned to lovers. And you ever I don't know how much time you spend like on the internet or like Kindle or whatever trying to find like book recommendations or whatever, but everything has gotten so hyper specific in terms of like we are only viewing literature through marketing terms. And so every novel on the front, it'll have the title of the novel, and then it will say like a mushy book, friends to lovers, light sci-fi, young adult, spicy adventure. And it's just like, it's just all, it's like basically hashtags. It's all search engine, like optimization shit, but like on the book. And and then that's how they are thinking of the way they're writing it. Like when they sit down to write a book, they're thinking in terms of like search engine optimization. It's really depressing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
That the title of Visionaries, if they went with that, would never end. They would just be like, there's Western stuff, there's like castles, you get some monks, there's slavery, there's friends to lovers, a queer romance, body horror. Now. It's everything. And we're saying goodbye to it, discussing episodes 12 and 13. And if you are a regular listener to Wizard Jail, you already know that we got one good episode, we got one trash episode. How do you feel closing the book on Visionaries?
I feel like we're going to have milked this for every little thing it was worth. We should say there's actually going to be one more episode after this.
That's right.
Of the podcast.
Because there's still comic books. And there's still toys. But to me, when I think Visionaries, all that other stuff is ancillary. I know that it's actually the other way around and the action figures were the reason, but for me, it's the cartoon. Let's get into it. Episode 12, Honor Among Thieves.
Well, we better be getting back. The Botanical Garden Committee meeting will be starting soon.
Frankly, I'd rather be fighting the Darkling Lords.
Wouldn't we all?
Real mushy book stuff here.
This is somewhere in between Philip K. Dick and like Raymond Chandler, and then also because you get the flashbacks to the fall of technology, so you get like some bubblegum crisis in there. Whole lot of mushy book in this episode. Starts off with a rare moment that is not built on continuity. Merklin wants to give the Spectral Knights a gift for, quote, carrying out your mission with such distinction. What mission is that? Wasn't the last episode. Last episode was about Cryotech going bear crazy. So I don't think that he's giving them really anything that they did that we saw. This is some other adventure that happened off screen. It's a giant red jewel, but the Knights, and this is something I really enjoy about both this episode and episode 13. The Knights are so fucking done with Merklin. They do not care.
He's basically bribing them at this point. He realizes that the shine's off the apple, and he needs to kind of talk to them like they're toddlers.
You know what it really feels like to me is he's the drug dealer who, like, selling drugs is a way to get people to hang out with you. And his most valuable clients are all going clean, and they're all just like, wait, I'm kind of like, I just don't party like that anymore. I got to get up early in the morning. I've started running, so, I don't smoke like I used to. And Merklin's like, come on, I got some Acapulco Gold. It's going to be great. You should come on, bot. Look, you got to try it. You got it for old time's sake. And he's like, he comes across as a little desperate in these episodes.
A little bit of kindergarten teacher giving golden stars also. kind of energy, I think.
Yeah, especially in episode 13, you understand that the orientation of this whole thing has always been like a kindergarten class and the teacher. Who's kind of like trying to stay patient but doesn't always succeed. So as soon as he presents this magical red jewel to them, they're like, this seems like a bribe to me. And he goes, look, no, this is a crystal, not a jewel, and it's the ultimate burglar alarm. All you need to do is place it in New Valeric, and it will warn you the approach of your enemy. And so they do that. They bring it home, and pretty much as soon as they bring it home, it starts buzzing because there's some goofy-looking guy on the outskirts of the city. They go to investigate. Ektar removes his fake beard and nose to reveal that it is Brassius de Brood, famous jewel thief.
And you might think they're introducing a new important character here.
Immediately dismissed.
Immediately. I kept on waiting for there to be a, like I hadn't watched these last 2 episodes. These were the 2 biggest surprises to me because I hadn't rewatched them until now. And I was really convinced that there was going to be a twist at the end where they had left him alone long enough that he had stolen everything.
Right.
And there'd be like a little like turn to camera and a wink or something like that.
Right. The way they did with those wizards when they escaped or whatever. Yeah. There's like the one wizard who they're just like, well, I guess he can go. And then at the end, you're like, uh-oh, something's up. No, Brassius de Brood, he's just a jewel thief. Now, we already know that Ektar is a fucking dirty cop who likes to, he likes to Jack Bauer people in order to get information. That continues in this episode. Brassius, it's important to note, did not commit a crime.
Nope.
They're not like, you're still wanted for that famous heist or whatever. He's just a guy who did something bad once. And they're like, we're going to kick the shit out of you. So this is full-blown Minority Report. This is pre-Cogs. This is the pre-crime division, that red jewel.
Yeah, basically. It also, the alarm goes off, but before the alarm goes off, it's still very loud is what I noticed. It's like having a alarm in your house that's always going off and gets louder when there's danger, but it was quite loud.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
It's just kind of, humming along. And then as soon as they catch Brassius de Brood, it starts going off again. And this is one of those things where I'm like, maybe this is one of those magical items that makes bad things happen, where it's like you until you employ the item, that's the thing that escalates it. And then suddenly everyone is drawn to it. That's not where the story goes, but that is sort of like, it doesn't seem like New Valeric was this crazy before you installed the crystal. So, but this is this episode is written by Flint Dill. Flint Dill, close personal friend of Frank Miller, right-wing dude, wrote for G.I. Joe and whatnot. And this is an episode that is like full-throated surveillance state. Yes, gardens and flowers, fucking gay.
My note is this is the most Reagan-esque episode of them all. Like they've all hinted at this before, but this is flat out Reaganomics in,
Yeah, I got some notes on that later. I 100% agree with you. So anyway, they capture this famous jewel thief, but then the crystal starts blurring again because the Darkling Lords are trying to sneak into New Valeric. They haven't really invaded the city in a while. It doesn't seem like they have much of a plan. They're just going to climb out of a sewer and go, now we're here.
They climb out of the sewer and the knights are waiting in the garbage. They're just like, they spring out from the garbage.
It's a manhole. You have the upper hand. Like, you don't need to spring out, wait for them to climb out.
Yeah, you don't need to hide in garbage. Everybody smells bad by the end of the scene.
Unbelievable. So they climb out of the sewer, but the knights are waiting. And now you might remember in World War II, the British did not let on that they had, they did not reveal the existence of the Enigma machine. Because they didn't want the Germans to know that they were able to crack their codes, because then the Germans can adapt. Leoric does not that strategic, so he immediately announces, "We have a magic crystal, and it tells us when you're near, and that's why we're here now. Huzzah!" So Leoric gives up the whole game immediately. It's a very bad OPSEC. This is not how you run national defense.
No.
Now, at this point in the series, I feel like I have been getting sick of these sort of arbitrary, no-stakes visionary battles. So I'm very happy to announce that this one is very short. It is just Sindar summoning his power of destruction, that kaiju thing. Everyone runs away from it. He destroys a couple buildings. There's one really cool shot where he shoves his sword in the front entrance of this apartment building trying to hit Leoric, and then he swipes up and the camera follows the sword up as it tears the entire building in two. I feel like episode 12 and 13, the animation is like very anime, very top notch. Now,
there's a shot of a manhole cover dropping back into place in this episode that might be the most beautifully animated shot in the entire series.
So the Darkling Lords no longer have the elements of surprise, so they flee. And then the Knights go, well, anyway, back to the meeting with the Garden Committee. The Spectral Knights, they hate gardens. They hate flowers. And the show hates flowers, too, because anytime anyone on this committee talks about flowers, it plays like wacky comedy music. Like, isn't this ridiculous that anyone would ever want to plant a daisy?
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, like when Bulk and Skull show up on Power Rangers and you're like, those two guys are assholes. That's what this show is saying about people who want the government to fund things that improve the lives of the citizens. The Garden Committee is like, well, you have this jewel now. Like, we have a foolproof precog system. It doesn't seem like we need the same defense budget that we needed before. That's because the Garden Committee doesn't understand that cities only exist so cops have something to extort. That is, the purpose of a metropolis is to provide limitless funds to gangs called police departments. So the answer to how much more funding do we need for security, the answer can only ever be more, because the whole reason the city exists is to provide more funding. Anyway, of course, Knights hate these guys. Cryotech says a garden is the stupidest idea he's ever heard, which is like, a garden is the dumbest idea you've ever heard?
I mean, throughout this episode, he's basically threatening to beat the shit out of these nerds for suggesting that they take any money away from the defense budget.
Yeah, I think he's saying, y'all are gay, and I'm going to commit a hate crime on you if you keep talking about flowers.
Just after we just got to like him in the previous episode.
And so the committee starts to chant, and they're clearly framed as like anti-war protesters. Their chant is "Make gardens, not weapons." It is just like, again, this is pure Reagan era propaganda. There are people who think government should enrich the lives of their citizens, but those people are ridiculous and stuffy, and they're annoying, and they're dumbasses, because governments are there to buy tanks and to sell tow missiles to Iran. Because it's 1987 and Reaganomics. Like, this is defense is what we do. Ektar's like, let me tell y'all a little fable. I think this is going to set some things straight. Once upon a time, I was a cop in the age of technology, and we lived in a cool cyberpunk world. Bubblegum crisis. It was sweet. And we had this issue where some guy invented a foolproof burglar alarm, but the guy who made the foolproof burglar alarm was himself a burglar and able to disable them. In fact, it was Recon, the Darkling Lord. This is, by the way, the plot of the Boris Karloff movie, Night Key. He's a mild-mannered inventor who invents a perfect burglar alarm, and then he gets his invention stolen from him by the company he works for, so he becomes like a super criminal and aligns himself with a mob in order to like rob all of those companies' stores and sort of get them back. So again, this is just a Night Key reference, which you always see in these fucking cartoons. They're always referencing Night Key. It's tedious, to be honest, all the Night Key references. Go to TV Tropes. The Night Key page is a mile long.
It's even longer than the Yojimbo page.
It's even longer than the Yojimbo page. So they were like, I don't know. It's he made off with all the money. There's nothing we can do. He owns the burglar alarms. But Ektar set a trap, luckily. Ektar's you have to
brilliant trap. A brilliant trap.
Number one, I don't think the show knows what a detective is. Because the show is like, Ektar was a brilliant detective. What did he do? He dressed as a lady and stood really still for 15 hours. Like, that's not a detective. So,
I mean, it's something that the Clousteau might do in the Pink Panther movies.
It has some Pink Panther energy for sure. Ektar disguised himself as a mannequin of a beautiful queen wearing expensive jewels, and in order to sort of establish his credentials as a mannequin, he had to stay still all day long as tourists looked at him and took pictures of him. And then
it kind of feels like a kink.
At a certain point, you're like, okay, this is this is some sort of like, you're like, I have an idea. What is it? I'm going to humiliate myself in public.
The rest of the cops are like, what the fuck is
I think
doing this?
he's always doing this. It's whenever someone's like, we have to go undercover as a hooker, he's always like, I'll go. Like, it's like,
I'll be the hooker and I'll stand really still constantly.
You know, like a hooker. It's like, Ektar, I think you need to take a vacation. So anyway, he does this, and then at night, Recon shows up and just sort of like does a quick glance around, and then uses his glass cutter to sneak in and grab the jewels, and then Ektar's like, aha, gotcha, which I feel like Ektar could have done that from any other point. He didn't have to literally be dressed as a mannequin, but Ektar, he's a fancy little man, so that's what he did. And then we cut back to the garden committee, and the garden committee's like, what does that have to do with the crystal? We remain unconvinced.
Real Ektar's got that great blowhard energy where he's like, well, let me tell you a story, and it's just something cool that happened to him.
Yeah.
And has no relation to what we're talking about.
Yeah. And also the idea of like his moral is like, so you can't trust technology because those burglar alarms. And it's like, that's a very specific incident to universalize. If you were afraid of Merklin using your crystal to sneak into New Valeric, then that would be an apropos story. But like, that's not what's going on here. You're being silly. So anyway, the garden committee, they start a new chant. They say, grow roses, not lances, more daisies, less maces.
Yeah, they try to rhyme daisies with maces in the way they say it too. It's pretty funny.
It's like, this is a universal truth of all of Prismos, this entire planet. None of these motherfuckers have bars. All of their rhymes are terrible. So anyway, meanwhile, the Darkling Lords are looking into the surveillance crystal, and in the surveillance crystal field guide, they discover that it can only be defeated by a cloak of concealment. And now, folks, I know what you're thinking.
I know where you're going already.
Harry Potter, invisibility cloak. Long black cloak, little stars and moons and stuff, little arcane symbols. It's a cloak that shields you from sight. No. The cloak of concealment is a bomber jacket.
Yeah, you know what it looks like?
What does it look like?
It looks like Kaneda's pill jacket from Akira.
It is Kane's. It is 100% either something that a cyberpunk biker would wear or a 1950s greaser would wear.
Greaser.
It is either
it's
something.
It's like a Letterman. You could have, yeah.
Danny Zuko wears this in Grease, or Kaneda wears this in Akira, and they call it a cloak. And I wonder, TMS, they made Akira.
Yeah, no, that's what I was in my mind. I remembered that. It's like, did they just was this like an alternate, like, oh, we're going to make it look like this, and then someone said, no, make it look like the comic book. Don't put that weird logo on the back. Put the pill on the back.
When the script got sent from America to Japan, was there an issue where there was just sort of like a translation error? And they were just like, well, it's just a cool article of clothing that conceals you. And they're like, a cool article of clothing, you say no more. There
is a joke at the end where, giving away the end a little bit here before you get to it, but there is a joke at the end where the cheetah guy says, we have to give with this is a worthless device because it can't recognize polyester. So that implies to me that if there was a mistake, someone corrected it by throwing in this little gag at the end.
Yeah, that it was a weird joke. We'll get there. It's a very it's an unusual joke at the end there. But anyway,
there's a lot of unusual stuff in this episode.
This episode in particular to me feels very like Adventure Time. It feels very like just like freewheeling. It's and normally that's a thing I appreciate. I think that was true of like episode what was it? Episode 10 was the one where they're hunting down all the wizards. Yeah. And it was just sort of like, goddamn, there's just more stuff. This movie is like that, or this episode is like that, but it's by the end, I'm like, God, I wish you didn't waste all that time on that silly stuff and had dedicated any time to these two characters that supposedly this episode's about. Anyway, Darkstorm sends out the Darkling Lords to find this cloak, and meanwhile, he is playing chess on a giant chessboard where the humans are the pieces, and once a piece is captured, a trapdoor opens up because Darkstorm lives in a castle that is like 90% trapdoors.
Yeah,
his culture,
it was going to be a toy.
His culture is like a trapdoor-driven architecture, like tradition. The average home, like the average one-family home in Darkstorm's realm, like you get out of bed and then you like take a trapdoor down to the kitchen for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, he's playing chess with these people, and then a wacky squawking bird flies in.
That he appears to be like a character we're supposed to know. Oh, I also want to make a note. This is Chekhov's human chess room set.
Yeah.
It's
they
not
pay
just
this off
for
in a cool
flavor.
way.
Yeah, they pay it off. But yeah, the bird he like just shows up out of nowhere at the window. It's just like, it's got this weird logic where every time it's like Adventure Time, where every time something's needed, it shows up, and it's like almost like a joke.
Yeah. It's I mean, I've praised this show in the past for like just how relentlessly it introduces new magical creatures and monsters. But I feel like the writers here are now just getting too comfortable with it, where they're just sort of like, we don't actually have to tell stories. We could just have a new weird thing show up and bring the characters to the next place. Though I do like that this monster looks like a combination of Moltres, the Pokemon, and the giant claw from the 50s sci-fi movie.
Oh, he does look like the giant claw, yeah.
And it turns out there's another weird hierarchy, because this bird works for a bigger monster who wants to be paid in meat. The bird's like, the boss wants to be paid in
the
meat.
boss. And it seems to me that Darkstorm is like, oh yeah, you're a boss. I recognize you and your boss. That there's like a whole, they've had this discussion before. I don't know.
It's so strange. So what the boss wants to be paid in is 50 T-bones, 100 juicy flanks, 300 ribeyes, and all the condiments you can muster. To which Darkstorm replies, am I to pay a meat ransom? And then this is the first like digression where I'm like, boy, none of this needed to be in the episode. We really could have developed more Ektar and Recon stuff instead of this whole digression here. A butcher show, but this is also like, this is so regular show. This is so Adventure Time. So a butcher shows up with a cart full of meat, and he has 3 giant barrels, one of mustard, one of steak sauce, and one of ketchup. There's a silly comedy bit where no one has any money to pay him. He needs 3,000 gold pieces, and they're all just sort of like,
take credit.
They're all just like kind of flat broke. And it's like,
and they don't just murder him. They don't just murder him.
That's the thing. We've really clearly established that these are like just brutal despots who have slavery in their kingdom. But then they're all just sort of like patting their pockets. And then you do this is like a classic Visionaries thing where a scenario is presented and then you get every single character's unique reaction to the scenario. They do this. They go to this a lot. So he asked for 3,000 gold pieces. Mortrid says he's saved up his allowance for years and it's not enough. Now, to me, this says that Darkstorm is Mortrid's sugar daddy.
Yes.
When he says allowance, I think I know where that allowance is coming from. And I think, Mortrid, gets paid. He gets kept. He gets his nice clothes and whatever. And in return, he is a companion to Darkstorm. This is a sugar daddy sort of a relationship he has with him. Sindar says he's flat broke. Kravex says that Darkstorm's last check to him bounced, which again is like the payroll department of Evil Incorporated is like what's happening to Darkstorm? Why doesn't he have any money?
It spent it all turning that thing into a fake monster a few episodes back, where they made they covered their vehicle with really elaborate makeup and monster parts. Yeah,
they had to pay Rob Bottin to make their vehicle into a giant monster. And then also
they do establish it in the next episode. He does say that the town is full of slaves, so it's not like he's paying those people.
Right. I think it's just that classic drill tweet where it's just sort of like rent $800, electricity $200, trapdoor chess $20 million. Please help me, my family is starving.
Human-sized chess piece.
Yeah.
God.
So at any rate, Sindar is flat broke. Kravex says Darkstorm's last check to him bounced. Virulina says, I'm still waiting on money to come in from a blackmail scheme. It's just sort of, it's like, why are we doing this? Why is this where this episode is going? This is like such a waste of time talking about why each individual character can't pay the guy who provides the meat that they are going to bring to the other guy so they get the thing to get the crystal. Like, it's such a time waster.
It is pretty funny, and it is meant to be funny, so I gotta give him a little bit of credit. It might be funny in the wrong way, but
I was more amused by it before I realized that they weren't going to pay off the Ektar Recon thing, which is like the thing I like from this series. I mean, one of the things I like from this series is the like unusual world building and stuff. And this is the first episode that does like a legitimate flashback, I think, to the pre-fall of technology world and what everyone was up to.
And that two people know each other. It's definitely the first episode where it turns out two of these people knew each other in the past.
Right. There's a couple a couple of the Spectral Knights already knew each other, and you get that in the first episode or whatever. But the idea that the Darkling Lords and the Spectral Knights have these like histories and like all that's really cool, but it's all shortchanged so you can get like meat jokes, because it's just like one of those like kid show things where it's just like, it's a bunch of food, it's a bunch of meat, and someone goes, oh, tasty. Slimer eats a whole cart of hot dogs. Isn't that hilarious? And it's just like, okay.
Can I be honest, though, that the meat did make me a little bit hungry. They animated it just good enough that I got a little bit hungry.
Like, I can't walk down this road with you. I know I've been praising the animation in this show and saying that it's very anime. One thing it does not share with anime is it does not make me hungry, unlike a Delicious in Dungeon or whatever. Anyway, so eventually they talk him into giving them the meat. We are introduced to yet another new biome. I don't think we've seen this on the show so far, the jungle. They're traveling through the jungle. They're predictably miserable about it, but Sindar, the animal lover, loves it. He says, "This is my home." And they're like, "Well, why are you lost?" And he's like, "Well, a lot of development since I left."
Yeah. There's like been development since I left. Like, I love it. It's a cheap joke, but I love it when Sindar uses a word like development, like a word he shouldn't know.
Right. Or like, yeah, the idea that like the jungle is like a gentrified city is very funny to me. So anyway, they get attacked by giant man-eating plants.
Dump the condiments! If we're to be eaten, we don't need to taste good!
Darkstorm uses his decay powers to wither several of them, and then one of the giant man-eating plants calls for him to stop. And now these giant man-eating plants are basically the exact same plants as J.B. Smooth's character on the Harley Quinn animated show.
Well, and I think the idea is that they thought Little Shop of Horrors was going to be a bigger hit than it was, maybe, because that came out in 86. This is 87.
Yeah, this is... And I was about... My next note is both the Harley Quinn show and this are referencing Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they both made the same design change where the eyeballs are on stalks.
Yeah, Audrey 2 doesn't have eyes.
So anyway, apparently this giant claw Birdman's boss is a giant man-eating plant.
Yeah, I love that. I love that there's a bird, there's a pterodactyl parrot, and his boss is a giant plant. That's just great. I want to know more about this working relationship.
Right. Very strange. So anyway, they strike a deal with a giant man-eating plant, and he's like, "Okay, I'll show you this pile of clothes." He has a very funny joke where he says, "We liberated these from travelers through the jungle."
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, they've just been devouring human beings for a long time. And there's just a pile of, like, it's a children's show, so you can't show a pile of bones, but it's basically just a pile of bones.
Well, and I like how in a more thoughtful show, or even a more normal show, this would be a ruse. This would have been just to get all the food, and then it would turn out they didn't have the cloak of concealment. But they do, and they know they do, and they know that just the fact that all of this is true and none of the monsters are lying to them is so weird and silly to me.
Well, we have like 15 other plot beats to hit, so
yeah, exactly. You got to keep it going.
Don't worry, they're going to waste time with this character later. So anyway, the cloak of concealment is there. It's a bomber jacket. Recon puts on the bomber jacket of +3 stealth
over his armor.
Over his armor, because it's a cartoon and the animation, you know what I mean.
It does not fit well over the
it doesn't fit
giant
well.
shoulder pads.
It's important to note it does not make him invisible. It just makes it so the Jewel can't detect him, which means that he is like the most conspicuous human being ever walking into New Valera, because he is this giant armored visionary with a bomber jacket over the armor.
But nobody stops him.
Nobody stops him because, Gabe, they cut the defense budget.
Oh, I know,
Why? Why did they cut the defense budget? For a fucking flower? For gardens?
And the way he's just walking by and he's like greeting people, he's like, "Hello."
And they're just sort of like, apparently they don't get paid enough anymore to be on guard. So there's still guards and stuff, but they're all just sort of like, whatever.
He seems slightly shocked that it works so well. Honestly, there's like a little bit in the animation where he seems sort of confused.
Yeah.
I might be projecting, but
no,
I got a little.
It's meant to be silly.
Yeah.
And part of why you know it's meant to be silly is he walks right up to a tour group.
Yeah.
There's a tour group there's a guy giving a tour, and he's like, and this is our famous security jewel that you've heard so much about in the past 36 hours. And right in front of the tour group, he just sort of takes it, and no one bats an eye. And then, but you do hear off camera the tour guide going, and look at this giant table. It's for city hall meetings. You might have thought it was for banquets. It's like, okay. That to me,
if it's off screen, then the voice actor can improvise, I guess, is the lesson here.
It's a very whackety schmackety do line. I think maybe it was like, it almost feels to me like an inside joke. Like they have had scenes before where they're discussing strategy, and one of the writers or animators is like, it looks like a fucking dining room table. Like, why can't they have a proper conference room? And so they added in a joke about it looking like a dining room table later. That's my projection there. Anyway, Recon takes the jewel. Ektar spots him. He gives chase. Recon knocks over an apple cart, and then this show, some things are hard to animate even when you have good animators, and Ektar does the goofiest animation ever jumping over it, where the character kind of just spreads its legs, and then the whole character model just kind of goes, like it slides across it or whatever. A lot of good animation in this episode. That's not one of them. Ektar turns into a fox, grabs part of the bomber jacket in his mouth, but then the guards throw a net over him. Recon,
because they're very stupid.
Because they don't get paid enough. We don't have these elite cops that we used to have back when all of the city's money was going to the defense budget. Recon turns into a lizard, and he just waddles past two guards with a jewel in his mouth, which is like one of the funnier jokes. And again, that moment specifically feels like Adventure Time. With just the two silly
banana guards.
Playing.
They do feel like banana guards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He flies off. Darkstorm says, now that we have the jewel, the Knights will never attack again. That's not what happens. The Knights don't attack Darkstorm's castle.
They never do.
No, you don't need the jewel. So anyway, back in New Valera, Cryotech's like, well, that's what happens when you defund the police. and it's just like, no, you didn't protect the core central thing that your entire security system is built on. You had like 4 guards positioned elsewhere and no guards positioned where the crystal was.
You had a tour group.
Yeah.
Going by your supercomputer.
So anyway, the good news is Ektar is a really, really good detective. And so what he does is he hands the bomber jacket to the garden sissies. And he's like, hey, garden sissies, tell me where this pollen is from. And they're like, oh, you mean do your detective work for you? Sure. And they identify that the pollen on Recon's bomber jacket comes from a very rare plant. But then they look at the Spectral Knights and they're like, these motherfuckers are going to burn down the jungle, aren't they?
It's true.
I've seen The Dark Knight. These motherfuckers are going to burn down the jungle looking for this plant. So they make the Knights promise not to just kill every living thing in the jungle indiscriminately. And they go, no. We just need to figure out, like, we just need more information about. I don't know what they're trying to do, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Because one, they know where the crystal is, because there's only one base that the Darkling Lords have. 2, they don't want the crystal. The crystal is like, well, that didn't work. Crystal's bad. We don't want a crystal anymore. So them like trying to recapture the crystal, like why? Because it will prevent you from invading the Darkling Lord's castle, the thing you never do anyway. Very stupid. So anyway, Ektar, the great detective, makes someone else do his detective work, vaguely threatening to rough him up, which is the Ektar way. They say, okay, it's this one man-eating plant. There's only like 10 of them, so you definitely know where it is, which then also tells us, like, oh, Darkstorm killed like a third of that population in the previous scene. Ektar shows up, and the man-eating plant goes, I don't have another cloak. And it's like, oh, well, I'm glad we had this scene. I guess like the entire reason this scene exists is so you can start it off with the man-eating plant like just devouring a bunch of meat and making loud meat noises.
Yep.
Because
somebody wanted to animate that. Somebody really liked Little Shop of Horrors.
Right. Oh, that's tasty. Like, again, I'm watching a children's show. I'm the one who
and
decided
they're making that sound effect you hated from when the knights are getting mud in the face.
Terrible Hanna-Barbera splorch group sound effect as he dunks these giant ribeyes into these barrels of condiments. Horrible. And again, it's just like, shame on me. I'm the one who has a podcast about a children's show, but like, God, the absolute dregs of humor in children's show is like, oh, what if it was a gross food and someone was eating it loudly? So, and that's the only reason the scene exists, because it's just so Ektar can show up and the guy goes, nope. And Ektar goes, oh, okay, never mind.
Ektar does threaten to kill him, though.
I don't have that in my notes. So he threatens to kill him?
He immediately puts his claw thing to his stem, which is basically his
right.
neck, and threatens to kill him if
Right.
he doesn't tell him. He doesn't even ask him politely. He just immediately threatens to kill him.
That's right. God. Horrible. Yeah, just total waste of time. So Ektar's like, well, I guess we just have to go get the crystal, which no, you don't. But he decides to anyway. He brings along Farrell, and he goes, Farrell, I got to be honest with you. You're just going to do a diversion. And Farrell's like, Look, as in your capacity as a diversion, you'll probably be captured, imprisoned.
No, it's Arzon. It's Arzon. It's the bird guy. It's the bird guy.
Oh, okay. It's the bird guy. So
see, I caught it this time. Yes.
But Farrell is the young one, so that's why I thought it was Farrell.
And Arzon's the second youngest one, so they mention
all right, whatever,
to be young or something.
You know what? I'm done. I'm done. I'm ending the podcast now. I don't want to be corrected on any of these idiots' names ever again. I'm just going to end it now. Thanks for listening.
Just say the bird guy. Arzon the bird guy.
Wizard Jail has been part of the Now Playing Network. Goodbye. Okay, fine. The bird guy.
Slam.
All of my notes, I have Farrell in here. Goddamn. This is... I hate this. Anyway, so he goes, look, in your capacity as a diversion, you're going to be captured, imprisoned, possibly tortured. And Arzon's like, yep. And it's just like,
it's another really weird kink.
Yeah. No, we'll get into it. There's some stuff later that is like, okay, he likes it. So anyway, Arzon...
I gotta stop just laughing. Okay.
Arzon causes his diversion as an eagle. Kravex turns into the Phylot, goes after him, and now... It's been a while since we recorded. We've been recording this. We've been doing the show for a couple months now. I may have already made this observation and just forgotten it, but I think the reason Kravex turns into a pterodactyl creature is because his speaking voice is like a horrible pterodactyl screech.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the logic there. I don't think that had occurred to me before. I thought it was pretty arbitrary, but
it's what's her name? What's the comedian? And she does the Old MacDonald had a farm, and on this farm he had a pterodactyl with a here. Oh God, Maria Bamford. Maria Bamford has a whole joke about that. Sorry,
okay,
go on.
If only Maria Bamford was on this show. When we
she's from Minnesota. She probably has a house just down the street, and I don't even know it.
When we reboot it, Maria Bamford is going to be our Hank Azaria and do like every voice that isn't a mainline voice.
Speaking of Adventure Time, she does a whole bunch of people on Adventure Time.
Why wouldn't you get Maria Bamford to do a whole bunch of people on Adventure Time? So anyway, both Kravex and I have Farrell here, but I guess Arzon gets shot down by a bunch of archers. And then there's this weird moment where they land on the ground and turn back into humans. And then the arrows that were in their animal forms kind of just go and like fly upwards. It's like the animators realize that they're like, okay, well, the arrows wouldn't transform with them, but we can't have human beings with arrows sticking out of their bodies because that's a bridge too far. So the arrows just kind of get yoinked like Poochie at the end of that episode of The Simpsons. Like the arrows just kind of get yoinked out of frame. Arzon starts to crawl away, and he's on his hands and knees as Mortrid monologues about like, "Ooh boy, you're caught," and like Arzon is on his hands and knees looking behind him as Mortrid stands above him. And then later on, Arzon's like, "Aren't you going to capture me and torture me?" And I'm like, "Okay, Arzon, let's pump the brakes a little bit with these kinks here." And then this is where the Darkling Lords realize that the crystal will just keep screeching for as long as there is a Spectral Knight present.
There's a very Mr. Burns kind of moment. I don't know how to where Darkstorm's like, "How do we turn this off?" Yeah. He just like appears on his balcony.
I think we've all had the the smoke detector that's like a little too eager.
Yeah.
And like every time we cook, the smoke detector goes off, and then you're like, "Oh my God, please stop," and you're just waving your hands around the smoke detector trying to banish the imaginary smoke that's definitely not there.
Yeah.
Like, I am a human being who is awake and looking, and I detect no smoke, so please stop. This is what happens with the crystal alarm.
So it will go off as long as they're there, and they think it's going off because of Arzon, and then they realize, oh no, there's that it's going off because there are multiple Spectral Knights here.
Right. It's
And
like a
that's
smoke
the way
screen.
you can beat it. It's actually kind of clever. I'll give it that. That's a good plan, Ektar's part.
It works. Ektar.
And I mean, there's no reason for him to be doing it, but it's a good plan.
It's at least a plan, which is more than we get.
Maybe
in
he's
episode
doing
13.
it because it's a good plan, and he's like working backwards from having a good plan.
Yeah. It's like, but I already thought of this plan. I guess we got to get the crystal now that I have this plan. Ektar sneaks up on a guard and just like uppercuts him off the wall into the moat. Definitely kills him. He's dead. He falls 700 feet into the water. He's dead. Lexor tries to chicken out. He's like, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see you. And Ektar's like, but I want you to have seen me. Because Ektar's a cop. He's violent. Lexor turns into Armadillo, runs away. In the throne room, they want to drop Arzon into a pit, but they can't remember which lever releases the which trap door, because there's just too many goddamn trap doors. There's too many levers. They get into an argument, and Kravex is like, just pull any of them. And they pull one, and Kravex falls down a hole.
Good joke.
Ektar breaks in, and then he just starts monkeying around with all the levers. He's just pulling them all. And Recon is doing this. There's this really cool moment where Recon's like jumping around the chessboard, dodging the trapdoors. So like the chess that was set up in the early in the episode gets paid off in an action scene. That's actually kind of interesting. So Farrell gets dumped, but he has the crystal, and he just sort of swims away in the moat. Darkstorm gets dumped, and he has to turn into a snail form to slowly climb up this shaft to avoid being burned in the little fire that's at the bottom. Ektar and Recon square off, and then Ektar pulls out the classic, in a strange way, we need each other move. Which, what? Why? How do you need it? It means nothing. It is absolutely ridiculous. And also, this is a year before the Killing Joke, so this is not, as I initially suspected, some sort of attempt to rip off the Killing Joke.
Instead, the Killing Joke was an attempt to rip off this.
Naturally. We all know Alan Moore was a big Visionaries fan. We always talk about it. People talk about Neil Gaiman ripping off Alan Moore. They don't talk about Alan Moore ripping off Flint Dill. Anyway, they have this very weird like little connection where they're like, I'm the detective and you're the thief, but sometimes I'm the thief and you're the detective. And it's like, Recon didn't do any detection. There's no detective work. This is... He sets up a little security thing earlier on where he's like, I'm going to have you hide behind a wall. And that is the extent of his, like, I'm the mastermind, outthinking the criminal. Like, it's stupid.
Ektar's not really much of a thief either, and he's a mercenary.
Recon's a mercenary in the...
He's not like... he hasn't been set up as like a master thief until this episode.
His background is as a master thief, but now I guess there's nothing worth stealing, so he becomes a mercenary. I don't know. It's stupid,
Okay.
but also it's like this entire episode's built around like these two characters being mirror images of each other, or like having ties that are meaningful to them from their former life. And it ends with them not fighting, which is like... The whole thing is that you're rivals and that you like need someone who's like sharpens your sword because you're just as good at fighting as I am or whatever. So instead they decide to just sort of like, well, I guess it's a draw, and they shake hands and then they part ways.
Oh, you always were the cleverest detective on Prismos.
And you, the cleverest thief.
Till we match wits again.
Or cross swords.
Until then.
It's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if we didn't have all that dumb shit about the beef? What if instead we actually explored these characters? We could have made it something, and instead it's nothing.
Yeah.
So even the jokes with the man-eating plant that did work earlier on are soured on me, and I go, ugh, don't want any of it. The Knights return the crystal to Merklin. They say it's useless. They said, we did some further tests, and it turns out you don't. I think what they were implying is like, you don't even need a cloak of concealment. You literally just need to wear polyester, and it can't see you.
Yeah.
And Merklin's like, oh, well, I did invent that crystal before the invention of polyester. And then he's like, I'll make it up to you. How would you like a magical pest repellent? And they're like, no. And he's like, I don't blame you.
Thanks.
How about then a magical food refresher? Just wave it over spoiled food. And they're all just like, no. And they walk off disgusted. Then we cut back to the Darkling Lords, and they're all having dinner together. And they have to eat vegetarian food, and it does the classic cartoon thing where it's like, what do vegetarians eat? Whatever gross plant shit they can smash together. This is like, in time memoriam, probably not now. Probably vegetarianism is in a place culturally where you're not just like telling children that vegetarians are fucking stupid. But in the 80s and 90s, this is like a classic children's cartoon comedy bit of like, we're vegetarians, we're having broccoli burgers. And it's like, no one's ever had a broccoli burger. That's not a thing. Shut up. And in this one, they're like, cabbage souffle. No one's had a cabbage souffle. People can eat normal things that are vegetarian. It doesn't have to be a fucking cabbage souffle. But it turns out what happened is they bought that killer plant, all the beef in this kingdom, and now the price for it is crazy and they can't afford it. So basically a butcher bankrupted the entire city.
Yeah. And I want to say that I made for our little poems that we do at the end, our little totem poems, I did a where's the beef joke just because it was an 80s thing, not remembering back to however many years ago I first watched this, that there is literally a where's the beef joke at the end of this episode.
That's right. Sindar goes, where's the beef?
It is. I was like, shit, now I look unclever. It looks like, well, but maybe I look more clever because I was referencing a future episode, but I wasn't.
That's fine. There's plenty of where's the beef references to go around. I literally have never seen a where's the beef commercial on TV. I am too young, and I still have probably referenced where's the beef 70 times in my life. So
yeah. I just rewatched the stuff a couple months ago, and there the alternate cut of that is full of where's the beef stuff. The lady is in it. Her and Abe Vigoda have extra commercials in the
My God.
extended cut. Yeah,
I'm glad that Larry Cohen came to his senses on that one. So anyway, the last shot of the episode is the man eating plant, eating beef and going yum, and then winking at the camera, and the music going, and I'm like, fuck you. And this is not a bad episode. I think this is actually a pretty fun episode.
It was fun. It goes by real quick.
It goes by real quick.
Again, it feels like Adventure Time. It feels like 11
Adventure
minutes
Time.
long.
I just really wish it's like they teased me with something and then didn't deliver on it, and it makes me mad.
Yeah. Well, this again, we're planning on putting millions of dollars into rebooting this, and
which we will.
This is an episode that could become a multi-part episode about the past that these characters shared, and we can really dig into it.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin. Like I think they need to have like a sexy like To Catch a Thief is. I've not seen To Catch a Thief in some time, but like there's an Alfred Hitchcock movie where it's like the person chasing, or Thomas Crown Affair. Let's go with Thomas Crown Affair.
Okay.
So like they can do a thing where Ektar is Rene Russo and Recon is Pierce Brosnan, and they have
It's the other way around, but
a sexy cat. No, Pierce Brosnan's the thief.
Oh yeah. You're right. You know what I was doing? I was confusing the character names, not the Pierce Brosnans. I was doing the exact thing you were just complaining about.
Yeah, no. Because every single character on the show looks the exact same. It sucks.
And their names are kind of similar. Recon, Ektar. It's kind of, yeah.
There's definitely a rule where it's just sort of like, and it's an I am, it's two syllables. It's Papa, Mordred, Darkstorm. Anyway, that's this episode. And now we go to the final episode of the series. I hate this episode. This is the most no plot, random, goofy nonsense, just fucking who cares episode they've maybe ever done. There are episodes that are more boring because they just sort of like follow a story from start to finish without a lot of twists or anything interesting developments or anything. But this episode makes me the maddest because it's just sort of like no one cared. Everyone was just like, get this shit out the door. And most importantly, it only exists to introduce toys, which we will get there. Episode 13.
I want to say,
yeah,
and
go
I
ahead.
think you're going to get into this, but I want to say that no matter how bad this episode is, it might have the pound for pound best animation of any episode.
I think you might be right.
At least character animation.
Yeah.
Like some of the episodes have that really cool monster animation, but this one is character, like they're kind of off model. They're so animated in this one.
The stuff that happens to Darkstorm is so unhinged and crazy.
Yeah. Well, you know what it makes me think of is it makes me think of the opening and closing titles of the Ghostbusters cartoon, which was also Sunbow.
Yeah.
So I think they got like that A-team that does the title sequence.
That's
There's
also
even
like
a shot
Yeah.
from the title sequence of Visionaries in this.
Oh, I
which
didn't
is
notice.
There's a shot of Arrow. The Arrow guy comes out, and there's that shot is in the opening titles. So I think that they, for some reason, because it was going to be the season finale, they got their best people on it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that they wasted them on this.
Yeah, they did not get the best writers. I mean, Flint Dill traditionally has written some of the best episodes of this show.
Yeah.
But this episode. Anyway.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. Dawn of the Sun Imps.
Dawn of the
Synapse.
Sun Imps.
Sun Imps.
Sun Imps. Number 13.
I do not want to be a damper, but I've made a study of curses, and I do not believe I've ever heard of one that said please before.
Ah, you seen one curse, you seen them all.
We begin in media res with Witterquick and Arzon, I guess. Maybe I'm fucking wrong.
No, you're right. It's Arzon and it's Arzon and Farrell. It's the two youngest ones.
God damn it! It's that Witterquick.
It's not Witterquick. It's Farrell this time.
Anyway,
It's the two boys.
They get chased to a mausoleum because there's an in media res battle where they're running from the Darkling Lords, and they go into a canyon and they end up in a mausoleum, and the Darkling Lords and the Spectral Knights are sort of like, oh well, let's pause our fighting for a bit to investigate this mausoleum. Why? Why did you stop fighting? What is it about?
I actually thought it was really amusing because to me, it's like little boys playing logic. Like you're enemies until something cooler comes along, and then you have to stop that game and focus on a different game. It really, to me, illustrated how low the stakes actually are in this world at this point, that they're just chasing each other and shooting. But it's like life and death. The scene before, they're like laser beams barely missing them. They're tumbling off cliffs and stuff, but as soon as they find something cool, they all become buddies for a second.
I just thought about the fact that this entire world is an abandoned post-apocalypse, so like the landscape must be littered with just like a million tombs and abandoned buildings and like haunted amusement parks, like all that shit. Like it's just this is like Prismos is a land that just has everything in it. So like the fact that this very uninteresting looking tomb, again, this is before Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but to me it kind of looks like the final little tomb that they go into at the end of that movie. It's just sort of like carved into the mountain or whatever. It's just like a bunch of pillars or whatever. It does not look as interesting as some of the other stuff we've already seen on this show. So I don't know why they start fighting. But at any rate, the Darkling Lords think, oh, a tomb. There's probably treasure inside. We're going to get the treasure. And not Arzon, the other one. Or maybe Arzon. Who? You know what? I don't care.
Who cares? One of the boys.
One of the boys says that has a lot of archaeological value. I probably mispronounced that.
It is Arzon because he's a nerd. That's why.
And
he's the one who cares about nature and shit.
Right. And he reads the symbols on the tomb and they say, cursed is he who violates this seal. Please stay out. Terrible things are contained within. And then the other boy goes, I don't mean to be a damper, but I've never encountered a curse that said please before, which I think is a funny joke.
Yeah. Good joke.
But they decide that they should probably wait and see before they risk a curse. So all the Visionaries meet at Merklin's shrine. That's right.
But they do a vote first. That's the cutest thing in the whole thing is they do a vote between the two Visionaries and two Darkling Lords. And Kravex is the only one who wants to go in and get the stuff. And he's very pissed off that his fellow Darkling Lord would vote against him. I can't remember what the other Darkling Lord is. It's Mortrid. It's Mortrid who's like more cautious.
Right. So
Very
anyway,
cute.
they all go back to Merklin's shrine because it's a cooperation episode. Merklin informs them that the tomb contains Sun Imps, who caused so much damage in the first age of magic that all the forces of the world joined up to seal them in their tomb. So it's like, yes, and now the Darkling Lords and the Spectral Knights will have to join up to reseal them in the tomb. That's what we're setting up there. The tomb was buried, but then an earthquake opened it up again. Merklin tasked them with burying it once again. Everyone just starts grumbling about having to do manual labor. It is the most like kindergarten class complaining about the teacher coded shit in the show. It is suggested that like maybe he wants us to bury it because there's magical items in there that would free us of Merklin's resources. So everyone's already like, maybe we should just go against Merklin here. They're split on whether or not they should open the tomb. Some are before it, some are for it, some are against it. It's not really split along ideological lines because Darkstorm wants to keep the tomb sealed and some of his Darkling Lords want to open it. But I think it's Lexor goads Sindar into destroying the tomb by saying, I bet you can't remember how to summon your little destruction kaiju. And Sindar's like, I totally can. So he summons the kaiju. It destroys the tomb. Cryotech defeats the kaiju thing with his archer arrow, but it's too late. The seal's broken, and the monsters start crawling out. It's all these little critters, but once they hit the sunlight, they turn into dudes. They're dudes, all different kinds of weird
fun way of putting it.
They're dudes now.
Little critters.
They were critters, now they're dudes.
They turn it. They turn into dudes.
They do. It's like it's just what happens in this episode. But there's all different kind of design of dude, but they're all monochromatic and tiny. And to me, it is so obvious that this is just a toy episode designed to introduce a whole new potential line of toys. And specifically, the way the characters are designed on the show and the way they're monochromatic, which is like, don't do that in a cartoon. It looks ugly unless you want to set up characters who would be really cheap toys. I think they are trying to set up, you remember Muscle? Muscle?
Yep. That's exact note I have, Patrick. They're exact note I have.
Go on. Talk about
I think that they're trying to set up Muscles, which were these little I thinking that they would have been slightly bigger than Muscles. I think they would have been closer to the ghosts that used to come with Ghostbusters. In the package, you'd get a little rubber ghost that was semi-transparent and all monochromatic. But yeah, Muscles were these collectible guys that were based on a Japanese property about a kind of luchador wrestling thing. And I don't think the cartoon ever really made it, at least the original cartoon, to America, but they sold them in packs of, I think it was 3, and you would just collect them, and most of them were pink like erasers. Some of them had different colors. I had so many of them because they were very cheap. My parents were willing to pick them up at the swap meet and stuff. They would make me happy. They'd spend a quarter and I'd be happy.
Right.
So they're pretty good as far as that goes. As far as selling, they probably cost nothing to make, and you sell a pack of 3 for $3.
They are non-posable molded rubber.
Yeah.
Soft rubber.
No points of articulation. I have a feeling they might have glowed in the dark because the Visionaries have the holograms, and the other kind of similar thing you can do is glow in the dark material. So I had a feeling that they would glow in the dark, but then they would have been green instead of orange. So I don't know.
But the Sun Imp, that connects to like the Sun Imps, because glow in the dark things get more glowy if you like hold them close up to a light first. In my day in the 90s, it was Monster in My Pocket, which were they were a little bit more. They had like a little bit more variety in the ways in like the color of rubber that they would inject.
Yeah, they were colored. They were actually painted. Yeah,
there was like a little bit more detail or whatever, but it was basically the same thing. I really liked Monster in My Pocket as a kid. But it's like, it's so clear to me, the monochromatic thing and the size of them, that the Sun Imps were just going to be muscles. And like the Visionaries, upon first introduction, there are too many of them for any of their personalities to register. And they look too similar because they're all the exact same color. So the entire rest of the episode, you don't really know who's who until someone points it out to you, because they are all just like weird, freaky little dudes of slightly different flavors. I have here, thank God for Wikipedia. Whoever did that Visionaries Wikipedia page is a real treasure, because they went so hard on this cartoon that no one watched. And they listed all of the Sun Imps, so I didn't have to sit down and write them in my notes. So thank you, mystery Wikipedia editor. It's probably Burnt Sugar, if I had to guess, the author of the fan fiction from AO3. Right. That I read. Abraxas, the Wizard Imp, Gorge, the Pig Imp, Growl, the Cat Imp, Nightmare, the Dream Imp, Misto, the Fish Imp, Shaggy, the Hair Imp. So there you go. And then,
Shaggy's the real standout, is what I gotta say.
And then once these are successful, you can introduce more. Shaggy is definitely the main. In my memory, I thought they, like, when I was remembering watching this episode, because I watched all these episodes before we started recording, just so I would have an idea of what the show was like. My memory was they were all like Shaggy. And I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a Smurfs thing that happens in the middle of the show. They're not really like Smurfs, but Shaggy is the most Smurf coded.
They really, to go back to Ghost, that I think this was the Ghostbusters team animating this. They look like generic ghosts that would be on an episode of Ghostbusters where a bunch of ghosts got out.
Yeah.
It's like, it wouldn't be like the main ghost of the episode, but like the ghost escaped. Now there's a bunch of them. We have to. So whoever designed these at Sunbow or Deke, but probably Sunbow, was probably the person who was designing a million little background ghosts for Ghostbusters.
So anyway, all these Sun Imps crawl out of the tomb, and the thing about the Sun Imps is that they all have magical powers that they use to cause mischief, but it's Visionaries, so every time they use a magical power, they have to say a rhyme. They have the worst rhymes out of the entire series.
Yeah, they don't have the rhythm. At least the Visionaries rhymes have rhythm to them. Like
this is just like absolute trash. And every time that one of them does a spell, it makes me so mad because I hate the rhyme so much. It's not hard to spend an extra 10 seconds and think of a better rhyme that actually has like a certain rhythm or cadence to it. But instead, one of the Sun Imps is like, no place to hide, now slip and slide. And then he just shoots ice and they all slip on the ice. Like, shut up. I hate this show. This show
do
sucks.
like that the Nightmare one in a later scene is just wanting a fight. Even though his like thing is apparently Nightmare skills, he just wants to fight. He's asking for people to fight him.
They did not think this one through. They really just tossed this one off. So anyway, the Growl Imp uses his shout powers to cause an avalanche on them, and then all the Sun Imps escape. So the Visionaries, not knowing what to do, summon the Bearer of Knowledge. That's right, Jim Kelly himself, showing up one last time on the show. Jim Kelly starts to lay out all of their powers, what they do, like I did just now from the Wikipedia page. But like as he's doing it, the Visionaries are getting fucking bored. And they interrupt him. Like he only gets through like 3 of them, and they're like, okay, yeah, whatever. How do we like... Even the Visionaries know this is a bullshit plot. And they're like, these are not interesting characters. Please stop talking about them. We are not compelled. We do not want to own little toys of them. They suck. Just how do we stop them? So they interrupt the Bearer of Knowledge. And he's like, you have to follow this recipe carefully. First, 1 snorgelberry, then the hair of an orange cat, and the tail of a stupid lizard. Now, Recon gets very mad about the implication that lizards can be stupid, which I think lends more credence to our theory that their totems are sort of like having influence on their minds, and like they're sort of identifying as the animals as much as they are identifying as humans. Because Recon is like offended on behalf of all lizards. And he goes, once you've acquired those items, you bake them into a garlic meringue pie. And that's, again, like the dumbest fucking kid joke in the world. It's like, what if you said a gross food? And everyone's like, oh no, garlic meringue pie, yuck. And then the Bearer of Knowledge starts to get really manic, and he starts demanding that all the Visionaries smile at him. And he just starts cackling and just be like, smile, smile bigger. And just all the Visionaries are very uncomfortable and smiling at the Bearer of Knowledge. And then he just starts pelting them with pies one after another as he laughs, because he was hijacked by the Sun Imps, who were using their magical powers to like make him say fucked up shit. I guess.
Pretty good.
Pretty
good way. The Sun Imps they're pretty good at being annoying. I will say that.
I'm annoyed.
Yeah.
I don't like this episode. I find it annoying. I mean, you are right what you said before about the animation of this episode being very good. Like the pie throwing and the crazy cackling knowledge bearer and all that. That's fun, but it's just sort of like, ugh. I like even the first time I saw this episode, I just sunk in my seat. And I'm like, thank God this series is about to be over. I can't deal with this shit anymore. So anyway, the imps all run off laughing. The Visionaries give chase. As they chase them, the sun sets. So all of the Sun Imps turn back into critters. They hide in a canyon. The rest of this episode is just fucking Sun Imps pulling pranks on people with magic. Like, I didn't take really good notes because there's not really a plot. It's just like a bunch of different scenes of Sun Imp pranks.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This is the series finale.
They kind of knew it was the series finale, but they weren't planning it as a series finale. From what I understand, they kind of knew they weren't going to get a second season, but they hadn't really prepared a finale. This was really supposed to be the last episode of the season, and you would just, in those days, it would get syndicated again, and it would just go on forever and ever and ever.
I wonder if it's like there's enough continuity that the episodes had to be in this order. Because if I'm doing the series finale, it's got to be the one where they catch all the wizards.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
But it's like maybe the last, because this episode follows after episode 12. Because there's a moment where like Recon and Ektar kind of give each other goo eyes because they love each other so much.
Right. They realize their love for each other. Yeah.
So this episode has to follow episode 12. Maybe there's something in episode 12 that means it has to follow the one where they capture all the wizards. I don't know. But like, this is a series finale. Makes me really mad. I'm just going to start listing all their fucking pranks. We're back to the Knights complaining about the botanical committee because they want to grow ivy on the castle walls, which is nice. They're like, and then after that meeting, we have a zoning issue about the barracks and a trade dispute. And then this is the part where I'm like, why didn't you make the episode about this? Apparently, the magical seeds from episode 3 of this show, where there was like a food shortage. There was what's not a drought? What's the
famine?
There was a famine, and they solved the famine by obtaining magical seeds. Apparently, those magical seeds have disrupted the market because those farmers have an unfair competition to all other farmers, and so like the Prismos economy is kind of getting fucked up from these farmers with their magical seeds.
And then the Darkling Lords gave all the meat away to the
right
to the giant flower.
There's some weird food issues. The most powerful man in Darkstorm's realm is the Butcher, because he has 3,000 gold and no one else has 3,000 gold. Like, this episode's so like, that is like such a more interesting idea, and it's like, I know it's a kid show, and like everyone clowns on Star Wars Episode 1 because it's like, let's start with trade disputes. That's exciting,
right.
but guess what? Like, sometimes it is. Sometimes a trade dispute's more exciting. This episode 13 of Visionaries instead goes, what if there were 6 Jar Jar Binks? And it's like, ugh, no, thank you.
Jar Jar's Binks.
Yeah,
Jar
Jar's Binkses.
Jar's Binks.
Anyway, I do like that as a line that's sort of tossed off to make the world feel more real, and it is the only thing about this episode I like, really, other than the animation on Darkstorm a little later. We'll get there. So anyway, one of the imps enchants a bunch of fish at the merchant stall, so they all come to life and start swimming and chasing everyone. You see one of the knights sword fighting a swordfish. You see another fish with like a saw nose sawing at load-bearing pillars. Oh, look at that. It's mischief. It's crazy. Oh my god, the fish came alive. Who cares? Abraxas shows up in Merklin's lair, and he imprisons Merklin, and then he turns him into a blueberry. But then he decides that's not fun because blueberries can't talk. And then he gives the following rhyme, which made me so mad. I wanted to turn it off and stop taking notes. And like my instinct was, we're at the end of the podcast series. Gabe can finish the recap on this one. I don't have to watch any more of this, right? Because here was the rhyme that this fucking Sun Imp says. He goes, to summon a light, a flaming torch. To summon a laugh, a creeping blorch.
They made up a blorch.
You don't even get to see what a blorch is. You don't get a good look at it. It's like in a cage.
Yeah, it looks like a broccoli or something.
It's like some sort of blob creature or whatever. So he turns Merklin into a blorch, I get. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
It just rhymes with torch. Like, you didn't have to write yourself into a corner. You could take 10 minutes and do something that isn't terrible. Or you can be Flint Dill and be like, actually, I'm playing golf with Frank Miller in an hour or so.
Yeah.
That's my script.
Maybe,
anyway,
you know what, I'm remembering the Frank Miller thing. Maybe Frank Miller was close enough with Alan Moore that he knew about the Killing Joke, and that's what really happened, is Alan Moore told him the story he was going to do, and he told the story to Flint Dill, and Flint Dill then stole it so he could do it first.
Totally.
Because
Alan Moore, really friendly, especially with people like Frank Miller.
Especially Frank Miller. Yeah.
Alan Moore, definitely the type of guy who's just always hanging out with folks and talking about what he's writing next.
Yep.
Not a super elusive weirdo who doesn't like leaving his very small stretch of England that he lives in.
Yeah.
Anyway, blorches suck. You go too far sometimes, Visionaries, with your whimsical monsters. Darkstorm gets attacked by Shaggy. Shaggy makes all of Darkstorm's hair grow. We were talking about the best animation of the series. This is it.
Yeah.
Darkstorm's beard and mustache growing out all fucking crazy. And then Shaggy's not done. He goes, hair in your hands, hair in your knees and feet. And so there's just like giant, weird, super well animated stalks of hair blossoming out of Darkstorm's hands and his knees and his feet, and then Shaggy is sort of puppeting him around like a marionette, and it's not as fucked up as the marionette kill in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, but it's close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. That's the first thing that comes to mind, honestly.
That's what you're going to think of, which came out in 1987, so, you know.
It's gotta hurt having that hair on your feet yanked. Like,
yeah.
Goddamn.
It's again, he's just sort of like screaming and like being dangled around by his hair and all of the animations on his face are like, again, this is a children's cartoon from the 80s. The animation on people's faces and stuff generally pretty stiff, but generally pretty limited to just like a mouth moving or whatever.
Yeah.
one expression just sort of morphing into the other expression, not getting a whole lot of fluid reactions or whatever. Darkstorm here is freaking out.
Yeah, he's not having a good time.
So then, anyway, animation's awesome. Really cool body horror in that moment. Another Sun Imp shows up. He puts all the guards to sleep, and he hypnotizes Mordred, and he makes Mordred thinks he's Darkstorm and says, give all the citizens my money. So Mordred goes out and starts giving all the citizens of the realm Darkstorm's gold, which I didn't think he had, so I don't know what's going on there. Economics,
maybe they did
how does
kill
this
the
work?
butcher afterwards.
They probably killed the butcher, to be honest. Screamer Imp is screaming around New Valeric. He's shattering glass. The Cat Imp is making cats attack Leoric. Leoric turns into a lion, and then the Cat Imp rides around Leoric like a pet. Back at Iron Mountain, Abraxas is making Merklin breakdance, spinning on his nose. I'm just listing the shit because that's all that happens in this episode. It's just a bunch of these dumb pranks. Dawn arrives, all the imps go away. The Visionaries all return once more to Merklin's lair, where he informs them that the Sun Imps need to be sealed in dark containers and entombed away from the sun. And then Ektar and Recon at the same time are like, hey, I think I have an idea. And Recon's like, yeah, I think I have an idea too. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I think so.
And then they
like,
kiss.
They kiss. We're going to kiss later. Turns out they don't have a plan. Their plan is just to capture them.
Yeah. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Yeah. Let's do exactly what Merklin just said. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, let's lull them into a false sense of security and spring traps. It's like, that's not a plan. That's a strategy. You need a plan still. Anyway, Cat Imp is captured when Sindar summons his kaiju because it looks like a dog and the Cat Imp gets scared. I don't think it looks like a dog. And I watch dog shows regularly. Like, I've seen all the dogs. It doesn't look like a dog. Nightmare challenges them all to duels, and Feral... Don't correct me. Just, Gabe.
I forgot, honestly.
Give me this. Give me this. Don't correct me.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's Feral. You're going to say it's Feral.
Yeah.
And we'll go on with our lives.
Feral. The wolf.
Nightmare challenges them all to duels, and Feral turns into a fox and runs in circles around him
Shit,
until...
you said fox instead of wolf, so that means it was Arzon.
Arzon's the eagle.
Shit. That means... Shit. Which one's the fox? Because Feral's the wolf.
This show
The cop
sucks.
guy. The cop guy's the fox.
This show sucks. We have to get through this. Anyway, Nightmare goes, whoa, I spun in a circle and fell down because this show sucks. Next, one of the imps gets chased by Viralina and Galadria underwater and then gets sort of cornered into a treasure chest. That's like the first appearance of Dolphin Galadria in forever. I
do like that the two girls teamed up, and in my mind, they high-fived at the end. I don't think that actually happens.
Well, the funny thing about this episode is I don't think Viralina or Galadria get any dialogue.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's the last episode of the series, and they're just sort of like, yep, they're both fish bitches, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's so dismissive. It's really terrible. And, like, again, it's like the first time Galadria has actually used a power in forever. Normally, she's just there being concerned. So, anyway, they capture Shaggy by ambushing him with a giant shaving brush and scissors. I don't know why that's...
But that is some of my favorite... I want a gif of... Kravex running with giant scissors. It's such a great animation cycle of he's doing, I don't know how to describe it without people seeing it, but he's leaping in this really graceful way and snipping
it's very
giant
strange
scissors.
Well, the people who wrote this episode did not care. The people who animated it cared too much. But the weirdest one is the last one. We still have a pig imp to be accounted for. So what they do is they bake it a giant cake and sing happy birthday to it.
Mm-hmm. However, they wear little hats and everything.
They wear little hats and everything. It is a giant birthday cake. And it is 1987, so the birthday song is still copywritten. It has not yet gone into public domain. So Prismos has its own birthday song set to the tune of Handel's Messiah. You know, hallelujah, hallelujah. They're like, happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you!
Doesn't that take the cake? Wait, it isn't even my birthday. Oh, well, I'll just take the cake anyway.
They blow noisemakers as he's eating, so like even after he's already fallen for the trap, they're like still keeping up the ruse and pretending it's a birthday party.
Yeah.
It would be delightful if it didn't come at the end of this episode, which I hated so much. But
Yeah.
so anyway, he eats so much that he just sort of can't move, and they're just toss him in a box. And then Merklin tricks Abraxas by because Abraxas has the power to reverse Merklin's spells. So Merklin casts a spell to trap himself, and then Abraxas reverses it and then ends up trapping himself. Okay.
Very Superman versus Mr. Mixius-Spigelic.
I will take your word for it.
Because he has to get him to say his name backwards to go back to the fifth dimension. There's a good episode of the Superman animated series, which is kind of underrated, overlooked, because the Batman animated series was so good. It's a very good Mr. Mixius-Spigelic episode of that show. I'm
also taking your word for it that that's how it's pronounced.
They actually do it. It's Gilbert Gottfried on the show, and he shouts how to spell it, and he says miss, and he turns his face into things, and when he gets to the yes, he turns his face into the album cover for can't remember which Yes album it is. It's the green album cover. His head turns into a Yes album.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Props to maybe that's the next series we watch.
Yeah, it's actually good though.
It's actually good though, so maybe it wouldn't make as good of a podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of the Sun Imps have been captured, so they're walking them back to the tomb. But then Sindar gets tricked into letting Shaggy free because Sindar has a soft heart for all little things. Mm-hmm. Shaggy escapes. All the boxes get entombed. Merklin's like, an hour to reward you. And they're all like, fuck you, Merklin, you suck. The series is going to end with us all walking away, giving you the middle finger. Fuck Merklin. Merklin ain't shit.
At last, we are done with the foul creatures. What magical items would you all like?
I think I could do without magic for a while.
And I second that. I third it. I fourth it.
And then Shaggy peeks out from behind a corner once they all leave, and then walks back into the tomb, which Merklin shuts.
Yeah. What really should have ended before Merklin shut it, so then they would have like, oh, they're going to escape again. That's a more logical.
Right.
It's not necessarily a better ending, but it makes more sense in the realm of the kind of stories they're telling, I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
So then Merklin locks the door behind him.
Yep.
It's like, oh, well, that was easy, I guess. And then Merklin looks at the camera and winks, so that's how the series ends.
Yep, the whole show ends with Merklin winking at us.
Fuck off.
So I told you in the very first episode, I mentioned that there was an interview with Flint Dill on Prismos.com, which is now defunct. But I guess he was probably happy to have a discussion with anybody about his show. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the interviewer asks him if you know, would your scripts have been tampered with if you weren't producer? And he goes on a tangent about how I don't know what you're talking about, but he ends up kind of like, he says basically Sunbow shut down, and they just sort of, he says the rest of the episodes were an afterthought. So I think they knew they were closing down. But the crazy thing is at the end of the sentence, he says, and I remember Jay Bacall calling me one day and saying, go see The Princess Bride. It's the 13th episode of Visionaries. Implying that somehow Princess Bride had ripped off the 13th episode of Visionaries. And now The Princess Bride is based on a really famous book.
Yeah.
Also, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Maybe he got the number wrong in telling the story. Maybe what he meant to imply is like, it's the 14th episode of Visionaries, saying that like the Princess Bride has the same tone as our show, and so it kind of functions as like a continuation of Visionaries or something.
Okay. That honestly makes.
When did Princess Bride come out? Did it come out after 1987? I thought it came out before.
In 1987 is my guess, because I saw it in the theater.
It is 1987. You're right.
Yeah. So they hadn't seen it yet, and I'm guessing they didn't know it was based on a book.
I'm going to say my most controversial thing I've ever said on this podcast.
I bet you I'm not going to disagree, but go for it.
I think The Princess Bride kind of sucks.
I don't know if I say it sucks, but I don't particularly like it.
I will go as far as to say I think Rob Reiner is a bad director. I think it feels cheap.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't work half as good as people think it does. I just don't think it's funny.
As a Mark Knopfler fan, I think the soundtrack is dreadful.
It's so bad.
And I'm like, oh,
it's
cool,
like
Mark
Deathstalker
Knopfler.
2.
What the
It's
fuck?
so cheap sounding. It just sounds like one of those like late period New World Pictures Roger Corman fantasy movies or something.
Or like a Full Moon movie. Like it's super
full moon
awful.
even.
Like well, they got Mark Knopfler, who from Dire Straits. I'm assuming a lot of people don't know who Mark Knopfler is. A Dire Straits lead singer, songwriter, very good guitarist, and it's not rock music, and it's really cheap, crappy synth.
Anyway, we should probably end this episode.
Yeah. Hopefully, we didn't alienate one of our 5 listeners. If you like Rob Reiner, that's fine. It's cool.
Wizard Jail.
Wizard Jail.
That's this podcast. Wizard Jail.
There are wizards
Go
in
ahead.
Princess Bride. We're kind of on topic.
Gabe?
Yeah.
Do you have the closing spiel? I don't remember.
I do
how
have
we
a
end
closing
this
spiel.
show. It's been a while since we recorded.
Yeah. No, I got one. I wrote it last night. But first, say you can find me on Letterboxd and Blue Sky as Gabe Powers, one word, and you can listen to my other podcast, Genre Grinder, or go to genregrinder.com. What about you, Patrick? What have you done recently?
I have a podcast, 96 Greers, where we're watching every feature film with Judy Greer in the cast, me and my co-host Barry. But then also I recently revived my old podcast, Tracks of the Damned, to do a strange month-long marathon where for the month of November, I did 30 podcasts in 30 days. I watched Roger Corman's filmography in chronological order. I started with the first film. I ended with Gas. We went through a whole journey of his career. Gabe, you were on the episode for Attack of the Crab Monsters.
Yep. It was fun. It was fun because there was no pressure. There was no pressure to be good.
No pressure. These are very relaxed commentary tracks where I am just sort of watching a movie and saying what I see and looking up stuff on IMDb and working it out. And when I got to the end of it, I was like, I feel like I really understand Roger Corman in an exciting way. So it was cool. It was a cool experiment. If you want to check that out, that's all there on Tracks of the Damned.
All right. So we end these again on the sort of poems that the spell poems that the Spectral Knights say to use their powers. And it's my turn to have written one. And I think that Patrick's going to be able to say the last line of this with me. He's never heard this before.
I'll give it a shot.
Let's see if he can figure this out. All right. The spice levels are weak. The flavor, 'tis a pity. This salsa was made in New York City.
Are we just doing commercials now?
I don't know why. It's just what came to me. I don't know. I don't know why. I almost did feel like chicken tonight. So yeah, I think I'm stuck in commercials.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.